All right, well, hello everybody. My name is Jeffrey Lee, and we're actually at the Orlando Kickoff, and we're doing a product training right now on the brand new ageLOC Body Galvanic Spa, which is this little baby right here. And I have Dee Dee and Jane. Now, we actually just did a 5-minute demonstration of the ageLOC Body Galvanic. I wish we had filmed it. But you can definitely see the difference on one half of her abdomen on the stretch marks. So thank you so much, Dee Dee, for being our model. And I'll just take your hand and you can come back up and have a seat somewhere else.
You're welcome.
Very brave. And now with Jane, I'd love you to explain about lymphatic drainage. And so tell a little bit about your background.
I am a therapeutic massage therapist. I've been doing massage therapy since 1984. I specialize in lymphatic drainage on the body for therapeutic purposes and for beauty.
So what are lymph nodes? What is lymph and lymphatic drainage?
Lymphatic drainage, the body is 75% water. So for 75% water, why don't we slosh? That's because of the fascia, or the restriction, or the skin, that restricts and holds the fluid into the cells and into the tissue. When you do lymphatic drainage, all you're doing is you're moving the fluid through the body. When you have any kind of surgical procedure, the body's fluid movement is restricted due to the surgery. And surgery, it creates adhesions. Adhesions contract or restrict. And they're like little bridges, little dams that get smaller and smaller and smaller, until finally you have a lymphatic restriction on both sides of the dam, but especially on the upstream side of the dam, because the fluid can't get through that scar.
Okay.
So when you're dealing with lymphatic drainage in an area of scars, such as Dee Dee's, you need to help break loose the scarring, and that's what the Galvanic Body Spa does. Is it uses an electrical stimulation, and then the ageLOC chemistry helps to reestablish the proper balance of the pH in the system.
Okay, awesome. So you were explaining that the lymph is this liquid is kind of like the toxin in the garbage, right?
Yes, the lymphatic system is the garbage collecting system in the body. So any area that has been compromised for a period of time, the fluid has not had a chance. It's like the ebb and flow. If you have a harbor that doesn't have a way for the tidal waters to get out, the water gets stagnant. So the lymphatic fluid in an area that has been restricted has become stagnant. Now, lymph nodes are like a decontamination unit that the body has installed in areas. And what the body will do in an area that's been compromised, it will take the toxins through the skin to the nearest lymph node. And the lymph node will break it down as much as it possibly can and make the fluid harmless. So it has a bacteria, a virus, it breaks them down. When you have a disease situation, what's happened is the viruses or bacteria have actually taken over the lymph node, and now the lymph node has become contaminated itself, and that's why with cancer they take out so many lymph nodes, yada, yada, yada. So when you flush the fluid through the body as much as you can, and you move the lymphatic fluid, you actually increase the health in that area of the body.
Okay, so when we're doing the Galvanic Spa on the face, if I have a little Galvanic Spa for the face, if somebody could pass it to me. Could you point to the areas, like I understand, Jane, that up all around the hairline there's lymphatic nodes, that's where they can drain? Is that correct?
There are the major lymph nodes on the face are right here by the side of the ear.
Okay.
All the face and head is called watersheds, and all the fluid moves down in this direction. The fluid can flow up to a certain extent, but most of the fluid flows to the side and down. So the major areas on the face where you have lymph nodes, the major place is right here in the neck, and it's called the anterior triangle of the neck, right here.
Okay. So you had a little move with that shoulder. If you could just demonstrate.
Yes.
So if you move the shoulder up, and then you get a little bit of a triangle. If you take your finger out of there, and that is the major drainage point for.
If you were a shower, here's
Yeah.
your main drain right here.
The main drain.
You've got to take the hair out of the main drain, or the shower is not going to drain. The bathtub is not going to drain. You're not going to have proper lymphatic flow through the entire body unless you drain this right here.
So now you were saying to me, why do you always want to, especially with somebody who's not well, that we always start with the right side of the body? Explain that.
Because the way the body has been created, the lymphatic system does not go back and forth. So the right side of the body starts at the top of the head and flows down to the waistline, because the liver is the major part of the body that if the liver becomes toxic, your body's in trouble. So the lymphatic fluid from the waistline up to the side of the face all drains into this side of the face. So if somebody's body has been compromised in any way, if they have any health issues, you need to do the right side of the body first to help the liver drain first. Once the liver's been drained, then the body can get into a faster level of health.
So when we're doing the galvanic, the face galvanic, you would literally start there with the person, right?
Correct.
And spend a few minutes and...
You pump up and down, and what you're doing here is you're actually jump-starting the lymphatic system.
Okay. And so now drainage is going to happen.
And drainage will start to happen. In fact, if you're lucky, somebody's big toe might start to drain from here. Or their sinuses can clear. And then when you move up the neck, your movement is in a downward movement, but you're proceeding up the neck with downward pressure very lightly on the lymphatic nodes that are in the SCM, or the major muscle in the neck. Then you come up underneath the ear. When you get up underneath the ear, you pause and possibly stay for maybe 10 movements, because there's a triangle underneath the ear where the whole head will drain, the scalp will drain, the back of the neck will drain into this area here under the ear. Then you go underneath the chin, again pushing backwards towards the ear and using the electrical stimulation from the galvanic to do the work for you. That's why I got in this business, because I saw this.
Okay.
And then you move backwards and get underneath the ear again. And then if you feel a lot of fluid pulling down underneath the ear, if you feel a lot of fluid there, or your subject says, oh gee, that feels so much better, but it feels kind of full, then you can actually take it down to the neck again, and you can actually help to drain. The sinuses will start to drain, the eyes will start to drain, the skin starts to drain.
Okay.
Then come back up underneath the ear, underneath the chin again, and now you can come back up onto the face. There's watershed lines on the face, let me borrow this pencil, that go from the corner of the eye over to the ear. All the tissue in this direction, all the fluid flows down. All the fluid in this direction flows towards the ear at a slantward down, because again the fluid on the face is called watershed, and gravity is a very large component in the movement of the fluid on the face. So after you've come up here, then you can actually go up the face along the side of the nose, and then with your galvanic on the side of the nose, and then come back down, and then go back underneath the chin, and then your next movement will be along the side of the face and come up underneath. You should not go above the orbit of the eye. You stay on the masseter bone, and then you go back across to the ear and down. By the time you've accomplished that, you basically have drained the whole face.
And what's the benefit of draining the lymphatic fluid out of the face?
The inflammatory process of any sinus problem, any throat problem, you will accumulate fluid on the face. And if you have chronic sinus problems, then this area underneath the eye can become very puffy, because you can't drain your sinuses. There's a huge sinus cavity here, one on the side of the ear, one here on the side of the eye. And when you stimulate those sinus cavities with the galvanic, it stimulates the fluid to be released.
And excites the water.
Excites the water. The water, it's like stimulating the water in your bathtub. If you want to mix something up, you excite it. You stimulate this water. The body already knows where the fluid should go, but it hasn't been able to go there because it's been blocked. With the galvanic, you electrically stimulate that fluid area, and the fluid will know where to go, and it will start to drain, especially when you've opened up the ear and the axillary, the pit here, which is what? The area where it flows into the bloodstream.
Okay. And the benefit of doing this, so the puffiness of the eye will go down?
Yes, the puffiness of the eye will go down. You can get a little bit above the masseter bone right here and just rock up. If you rock up, push up. Because the muscle around the eye, is the bicularis oculi, is a circle. So the fluid, the reason we get these bags here, is this circle muscle, gravity works, and the fluid starts to pull down. The more it pulls on that circle, it just starts to pull more and more and more. So when you bring your galvanic up here, you actually push up, and you'll stimulate the fluid to go back, and you'll actually stimulate that stretched out circle muscle underneath your eye to contract a little bit more with your galvanic, and the fluid will be released and the muscle can tighten.
All right. So now we did, anytime we're doing the body, like the abdomen, you recommended that we spent a few minutes up in this little area
Yes.
first, which I did.
Right.
And then show us down in the abdomen area where the drainage points are.
There's
there.
a large drainage point right behind the diaphragm.
Okay.
Between the diaphragm and your first lumbar vertebrae, L1, which is accumulation of all the fluid that comes up from your legs. So when you're dealing with different types of stimulation to the abdomen, your client could do some deep breathing, and then you can use your body galvanic. The fluid flows up because there's a lot of lymph nodes along the chest, and you can have the fluid flow up in this direction. The fluid in your back all flows to the front, and from the waistline it goes down, and from here it comes up into the axillary. So if you're dealing with the back, the fluid in the back comes up into the axillary or under the armpit. From here it comes around and wraps down and goes into the groin.
Okay. So there's some drainage points all around.
There are more lymph nodes underneath your large intestine and the abdominal cavity. The ones on the top of the body, there's not as many. So from here down, you can push all the superficial fluid down, have your client take deep diaphragmatic breaths, which will get the deeper fluid, and then pull up, and you can actually stimulate up the sternum and bring the fluid up into the pit
Okay.
here on the side of the neck.
Perfect. So, just hold it right like that. So what I was doing